Yo, what's up, everyone? This is Kaiser War here. I kind of want to talk about why I think BlazBlue Entropy Effect X's console launch is very important. This is a sort of thing where it's kind of hard to talk about Entropy Effect without other people coming up and talk about, oh man, BlazBlue sucks nowadays. It should have been a Why is the fighting games? It should have been just a fighting game series and yada yada. And like, I can understand where people are coming from to an extent, right? A lot of people got into BlazBlue for the fighting game aspect. I can totally understand why people will be upset. But honestly, I don't kind of see it as much of an issue considering the fact that like you can still play the other BlazBlue games. Like Central Fiction is still very active. Like people still play that game and now it has rollback on Steam. So like I feel like, I mean, if you don't want to play Entropy Effect, you don't have to. If you don't want to play Cross-Tag Battle, you don't have to. You still have Central Fiction. And I feel like, you know, I don't see anything wrong with just playing Central Fiction. I mean, the fact that it exists is a good thing. The fact that it's available to play and it has rollback is nothing but a good thing, right? It's accessible to people. A lot of people have Steam, duh, and the game goes on sale very often, so I feel like Entropy Effect should not be the be-all, end-all for BlazBlue. But I do want to talk about why the console launch is important, because Entropy Effect started out as a PC game, right? It started off being made by, well, it's still made by 91 Act, but it started off being made by 91 Act, who was the main creators of BlazBlue Revolution Reburning, which came out for mobile devices. It was basically BlazBlue Chrono Phantasma turned into a beat 'em up game, right? And Revolution Reburning wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad game, but there really wasn't even a reason to play it unless you just really wanted to play BlazBlue in a beat 'em up style, or if you just didn't want to play BlazBlue. I mean, the game was free, so I mean, if your only a BlazBlue experience was through this, then you could have had worse experiences. But anyway, I feel like Arc System Works trusted 91 Act enough to make another game, because Revolution Reburning wasn't bad, but it definitely was just a bunch of BlazBlue assets being reused as a beat-em-up style. Though I would say BlazBlue is in kind of a weird spiral situation, where like, after Central Fiction, BlazBlue kind of was in this weird spot of, okay, well, we have Cross-Tag Battle, which was handled very poorly. I do think Cross-Tag Battle is a good game now, but when it was coming out and they were talking about the DLC practices and the gameplay being different from what people are used to, you know, stuff like that, it was a lot of things that try to turn people off from Cross-Tag Battle. And it coming out the way it did not help. Yeah, we got a dub back and everything, and the game itself wasn't like broken or anything like that, like fundamentally broken. I do think that Cross-Tag Battle kind of did more harm than good in some cases, and it got even worse when BlazBlue Alternative Dark War was out. Now, Alternative Dark War is probably the most inoffensive BlazBlue game ever, considering the fact that it only lasted about 11 months. It didn't last long at all, but it was in development hell for 4 years, so you know, bad. And on top of that, a lot of people didn't even get to play Alternative Dark War, so like if you're complaining about Alternative Dark War, I don't really see the issue. That game did not do anything to you. Honestly, you never played it. A lot of people have. I have. But if you're a person who's not into BlazBlue for the lore or the characters or anything like that, and that's like a small fraction at that. I will say this. If I were to say this, BlazBlue's fan base for the fighting game aspect is probably like maybe 70%. Most people got into BlazBlue for the fighting game aspect. And I think about 30, maybe 40, maybe 4, you know, maybe it's a 60-40 split. It's not, I know it's not a perfectly even split. But I think 70% got it for the fighting game aspects, 30 people are in for the story, right? Maybe that's too low. I don't know. I can't really tell you. But me personally, as I said before, I'm into BlazBlue for the story. So I was going to pre-register for BlazBlue Alternative Dark War, even if I had no idea what the hell they were talking about. I had no idea what they were talking about. The game was in goddamn Japanese. But the game was not a good game. Now, if BlazBlue Cross-Tag Battle, like, I feel like if Alternative Dark War was a big release that came out to everyone and marketed as like the next big step, huge step for BlazBlue, which technically it was supposed to be, and just not a spin-off like Cross-Tag Battle, it would be different. Because let's say if Alternative Dark War was a huge thing everyone could get access to. The game was fundamentally broken, crashed a lot, development hell, the game barely functioned. And on top of that, it was Japanese only, and it was a mobile gacha game. So BlazBlue Alternative Dark War was doomed to fail. Maybe if BlazBlue, was a lot bigger than it was, a lot bigger, maybe Alternative Dark War would have lasted. But considering how it functioned, considering how it was kind of marketed as like, oh, the next big step for BlazBlue, like the series of BlazBlue from then on depends on this game. No, nobody was into that. And like, I'm used to mobile gacha games having important lore, for the future of a series. I mean, I'm into Kingdom Hearts. They've done that multiple times with Kingdom Hearts. They try to do it again, but that's another story. But I do believe that no one was into Alternative Dark War. Cross Tag Battle was seen as a flop by some people. So that's like 2 strikes already. And I think that Entropy Effect, being the way it is, a non-fighting game, BlazBlue, was the 3rd strike that knocked people out. They were done. They were just done. It was a roguelike game, but it still used the same thing from BlazBlue Central Fiction to basically make the game up with new original assets of like the worlds and the music and stuff like that being made by 91 Act. And I think the problem about Entropy Effect, even though it's a good game, the problem about Entropy Effect, it kind of doesn't feel like BlazBlue. The aesthetics aren't exactly there. The characters don't really interact with each other. They're kind of just like tools to be used to play the modes, which I don't think there's nothing wrong with that personally. But a lot of things what made BlazBlue aren't in Entropy Effect. They're still using the same character art from BlazBlue Central Fiction. They're still using the same sprites from BlazBlue. They're still using the same Japanese voice quotes that were just basically been reused from BlazBlue. Hardly any new lines for like anything. I think all the BlazBlue characters don't have any new lines at all. It's all reused stuff. And normally I wouldn't trip about it too much because hey, reused assets can go far, right? But I think the problem about it is, even though Entropy Effect is a good game, it is just a good game with a BlazBlue skin slapped on it. The game honestly could have just been called Entropy Effect, and the BlazBlue characters could have been left out of it, and the game would still be exactly the same. Like, the game would not change whatsoever. You could just have knockoff versions of the BlazBlue characters, and it still would not change. Because there's so little BlazBlue into the current version of Entropy Effect that's kind of crazy, I mean, the same thing was kind of done with Revolution Reburning, but Revolution Reburning was a whole different thing, in of itself. And as much people want to slag on Cross Tag Battle was a BlazBlue game. Like, I don't want to hear anyone say otherwise. It was a BlazBlue game. It had all the characters, it had the interactions, it had the music, it had the aesthetics. Like, Cross Tag Battle was a BlazBlue game, whether you like it or not. But Entropy Effect, you can definitely tell this was not made by Arc System Works. You can definitely tell that Entropy Effect was made by a different team. And this is their take on it. And I don't see an issue with it personally, but I do think that there should have been more of an effort to make it more like BlazBlue. Me personally, I'm into BlazBlue for the story and the characters, right? The fighting game stuff for me personally comes second, right? As much as I love BlazBlue for its gameplay, the fighting part is awesome, it's excellent, one of the best in the business. I care more about the characters and the plot of BlazBlue than the actual fighting game parts. So I feel like, for me personally, if you had that in Entropy Effect from the start, I honestly wouldn't trip too much, right? Because I think Entropy Effect is a good game. It just does not have the things I liked about BlazBlue in it, outside of the characters. And even then, they're not the characters. They're just stand-ins. They're just, just playable assets to be used during the game, right? But here we come with Entropy Effect X. They got writers from actual BlazBlue games and novels and stuff like that. For example, Mako Kamau, who pretty much did every single BlazBlue light novel. We have Akihito Kumagawa, who was the scenario writer, the script writer, the Japanese voice recorder for BlazBlue Chrono Phantasma, as well as the scenario writer and script writer for BlazBlue Central Fiction. So we have people who know what they're doing. That's great. Nice strides. We can see there's more focus on the story now. They're showing, more story and an actual story. And I think that's super awesome. They're actually pulling in actual more voice actors that were voice characters in BlazBlue for this game. That's another good thing. Like, I'm happy about that. And on top of that, we're getting more playable characters. The game's actually on consoles, which I mentioned at the beginning of the video that it's great that it's getting on consoles. But at the same time, I think it's like the best way to do it, personally, for me. Like, I've always wanted this game on consoles. Now, granted, we have it on mobile as well. We have it on Steam, right? And, there's obviously ways to play these. Honestly, you could just play it on mobile. It's like everyone has a phone, right? At least with the Steam excuse, not everyone has a PC and not everyone uses Steam. At least with a phone, everyone has a phone. Like, there's no excuse. Like, you had to play BlazBlue Entropy Effect already, if you wanted to, right? You had plenty of opportunities. The thing has controller support, so you have a game. If you have a controller and a phone, you could just play Entropy Effect. But I like it being on consoles more because it gets to a larger bunch of people. I'm more of a console player than anything, so I would prefer to play this on my console. I would prefer to play this on my PS5, and now it'll be that. But I like that's also coming to Xbox. I also like that's coming to Switch, because BlazBlue has had a history of being on Xbox. Calamity Trigger was on Xbox, Continuum Shift was on Xbox, Chrono Phantasma was on Xbox. Funny enough, Central Fiction wasn't on Xbox. It's still funny to me to this day, because that makes the only BlazBlue fighting game that's not on Xbox, because Cross Tag Battle's on Xbox. So I just think it's hilarious that is. But anyway, that's beside the point. Anyway, yeah, Entropy Effect is on almost every modern platform, right? Well, actually, it is, because it's on mobile, it's on Steam, it's on Xbox, on Switch, and PS5. Like, it's literally on everything you can play right now. Like, any console or anything that can run a game, you can play it on right now. So, like, I like that it went from just being a game on Steam that already, like, it has a big audience, but not a huge audience, to, like, having every platform covered. So you have every opportunity to play Entropy Effect, which I think that's really, really awesome. I feel like more people should play this game, right? That's a great thing. And I like the fact that I mentioned before that they're putting more emphasis on the story, because that was one thing that was a big complaint for Entropy Effect. Now, I don't know how different the game's going to look personally. I feel like they're going to still use the basis of the game they already have and just add a story to it, which that's a good step forward, at least to me. I would prefer if the game looked and sounded more like BlazBlue, because I don't really like the music for Entropy Effect. It just doesn't hit that same vibe that Daisuke Ishiwatari, Norichika Sato, and Kikuo had for BlazBlue, and Yuki from Galneris as well. Their music is just like peak. Right, their music is peak for BlazBlue. It gave BlazBlue a very good soundtrack, and Entropy Effect does not have that, and that sucks. And I hope they try to make more of an effort to, do that if they're going to continuously update Entropy Effect, which I'm sure they will. I sure hope they added more to it to make it sound more like BlazBlue. So kind of, I would be happy with that as well, right? Like, but again, I like the fact that we're getting a story. I like the fact that we're making more strides to get this to more people. I just feel like all they have to do is really just make more music like BlazBlue. Like, hell, they can just Arc System Works is licensing them both the writers and the assets and stuff like that to make the game. I just don't see why they just can't get some of the music composers. They only have to get Daisuke. They can get Norichika Sato, which I know Norichika Sato isn't doing anything unless he's having a good to get stride, but that's beside the point. But I know Sato isn't doing anything. They can get him on this game. Just get him on the game and make the music, right? But I'm excited. Plus, they finally added Naoto to the game, which has been a funny thing ever since this game actually was announced for like the very first time a while back. Because Entropy Effect uses Naoto as like the face for their social media pages and stuff like that. But Naoto wasn't playable until now, like a couple years after the game came out, which I think is funny. But yeah. I really do believe that this is a good thing. I understand why people are a little bit upset that BlazBlue doesn't have a fighting game. But again, we already have BlazBlue fighting games that you can still play. It's not like these games are delisted or just gone to the ether forever. You have options. You could just not play Entropy Effect. Or you can try and play Entropy Effect and just see. Maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. You never know. But, I feel like if you played Entropy Effect, if you already liked BlazBlue, you played Entropy Effect, and you had fun with it, you like BlazBlue, right? Or you just like roguelikes. Either one. But that's all I really have to say on this whole matter. I'm excited. I've been waiting for this for a while now, and I'm happy my dream came true.